Hello, welcome to the sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Modern Open in Richmond, part of the SCG Tour, brought to you by Ultimate Guard. I'm Nick Miller alongside longtime Legacy Elves aficionado Ross Merriam.
Yes.
Taking the plunge here in Modern after beseeching your deck for so long.
Yeah,
in Legacy.
It's been a while since I have played Elves in Legacy. I think over 2 years at this point. But I've been on Dredge in Modern for a while, and I didn't really like it for this week. I keep expecting the Graveyard Hate to die down, and it just hasn't happened yet. The Eldrazi Tron deck is getting more popular, and they just easily play Relics in their deck without even really trying. They have a ton of Graveyard Hate. That matchup's horrible. But so I didn't see it come down to the point where I was going to be comfortable playing Dredge. So I looked around for some lists. I had lunch earlier this week with Todd Anderson. He was talking about what he wanted to play. At some point, Elves came up, and I thought, Elves. I remember those. And I liked the deck ever since I saw Juza's list from one of the earlier Modern Grand Prix a couple months ago. He top 16 with an Elves list that had 4 Devoted Druid and 1 Vizier of Remedies. So you sort of shoehorn that combo into the deck. Devoted Druid is already an elf, so it plays well. It's a mana creature. You want tons of mana in the deck anyway. And you already have a way to use the infinite mana in Azuri. You just pump your team a bunch. Already playing Collected Company Chord, so it seemed like a perfect way to get that combo into an already powerful shell. And I like the idea of having 2 very powerful plans that your opponents have to respect. Like Devoted Druid is a card that they almost always have to kill on sight because the threat of them dying is so high. But it can often, in a lot of your draws, Devoted Druid is a pretty bad card. So it drawing a removal spell just opens the way for your Archdruid to live, your Azuri to live, and you kill them with your normal elf plan.
Right, that was the big talking point I wanted to bring in, because we saw this deck have success before the printing of Vizier of Remedies. Of course, Liam Lonergan won the Invitational with this deck before that card even existed, showing just the power of that deck. But this has really supercharged it in even more ways because you have Court of Calling and Collected Company that can help you find this combo.
Yes, the old Elves decks had, they had a couple weak slots in their deck with some one-ofs that they used to play, some other core targets, and you just replace some of those weaker cards with 4 Devoted Druid and 1 Vizier. It's very few slots in your deck to have this really powerful new angle, and the rest of the deck isn't affected at all. The only card that you trim down on is Elvish Visionary, which wasn't great in the deck to begin with because you don't have Wirewood Symbiote.
Right. This isn't Legacy, so you don't get all of the tools from the deck that you're used to.
You basically don't get any of the good cards. That's why I didn't play this deck in Modern for a while. The cards are still good, but you don't get any of the best cards.
Right. You don't get Gaia's Cradle.
Gaia's Cradle, Green Sun Zenith, Natural Order, Quirion Ranger. These are like the 5 best cards in the Legacy deck. So the deck is very different. I think it actually plays out a lot more similarly to the old Standard Elves deck, because Elvish Archdruid and Azuri were both legal and Standard at the same time. And right before Callblade, after Scars of Mirrodin came in, there was this mono-green elf deck that was good against the ramp decks called Girl Scouts. And it just critical mass, go big, Archdruid nets a bunch of mana, sink it into Azuri, kill them with a bunch of stuff. And it plays out pretty similarly to that, but you get Collected Company, so you get to do it all end step, which is great.
Right. So, going over the list, you've mentioned some of them offhand, but you have your 1-drops in terms of Llanowar Elves and Elvish Mystic.
Yep.
And then, anyone who's seen the deck in action sees that Nettle Sentinel Heritage Druid is what makes this deck tick. You get to combine it with Devoted Druid and the Vizier, but when you get to start doing the 3-mana untapped shenanigans...
The thing about these 2 cards, and it's also true in Legacy, is that your best draws all involve them, and they look really good, but they get a lot worse very quickly when your draw isn't near that top end of the spectrum. So it doesn't take a lot for these cards to become a lot worse. They're less consistent, but they're always a part of your best draws. And then the same is true here. I want to start every turn 1 on a Llanowar Elf or an Elvish Mystic. And then if I have this great draw with Heritage Druid and Nettle Sentinel, I can get 6 Elves into play. But I'm fine just going Llanowar Elves, next turn, Elvish Archdruid, and then go from there. So they're not necessary components of the deck, and here there's no glimpse to go along with them. So they're actually even a little bit worse here, I think, than they are in Legacy.
Right, everything's going to look slightly worse compared to the Legacy build, but you still have the engines going. Then you have Dwynen's Elite, of course, Lonergan's Token showing up there, so you get to keep that legacy going.
Dwynen's Elite is the really underrated card here, and it's one of the cards that makes Heritage Druid really good because it's 2 bodies in 1 card. You can often go turn 1 Elf, turn 2 Nettle Sentinel Heritage Druid, make 3 mana, play a Dwynen's Elite floating 1, you untap your Nettle, and now you have 3 Elves again, so you get up to 4 mana and Collected Company on turn 2. So that's actually a really strong line that Dwynen's Elite enables the Nettle Sentinel Heritage Druid combo to do.
Right, and this deck is pretty powerful. You've had multiple turn 3 kills.
Yeah.
So these things are not out of the ordinary.
Yeah. I don't know if I've had a fair turn 3 kill yet. I might have had one, but most of your turn 3 kills come from just devoted druid into combo on turn 3. But there are so many different ways to do it that it's impressive.
All right, so then we've mentioned, Azuri and Renegade, Azuri and Elvish Archdruid. I mix them up every time.
Yep.
Those are kind of the pieces that pay off the deck.
Yes, exactly. Those are your payoffs.
Eternal Witness lets you rebuy them. You have one Elvish Visionary hanging out in here, and how comes that?
I have one Elvish Visionary in my deck because I absent-mindedly forgot to pick up Horizon Canopies from Tom Ross before we left Roanoke. He was not coming up until this morning because of all his buys. He has buy privilege, so I forgot to pick them up from him. I scoured social media trying to figure out people I could borrow them from. SCG was out of stock. I didn't really want to buy them because they're like $100 a piece. How did that card get so expensive? When did that happen? Where was I? Yeah, so I ended up not being able to find them. Nobody had any, and so I'm just going without. So the list's a little suboptimal. My original list had -1 Visionary, -1 Fetch Land, and -1 Forest, and had 3 Horizon Canopies in the deck. I reasoned that without Canopy as a cantripping land, I should probably cut a land so I don't flood as often. I've had, I think, 6 no-land hands today, so getting incredibly punished for that, but the one Elvish Visionary I've drawn has been good several times. So.
All right, so it's sort of working out.
Yeah, I mean, Elvish Visionary and I are best friends, so I couldn't really leave that on the sidelines.
Other utility lands here, of course, Cavern of Souls is great, but you can name it on human if you need the white source that you're missing from Horizon Canopy. Westvale Abbey, and then Pendlehaven, a card that I think Tom Ross says should go in way more decks than just Infect, but this is one of the prime decks that it can go into.
Perfect for it. I held off an Izzet Staticaster earlier with it. Just a very easy land to play one of, and just really effective. If the deck were not as low on lands as it is, like you keep a lot of 1-landers and 2-landers, I would consider going to 2 Pendlehaven, but the idea of drawing 2 of them is just disgusting to me.
Now we'll move to the sideboard where being green-white on top of the Vizier is where the deck really shines, because there's 2 builds of Elves running around. There's the green-black, Stampede, and then you use the Drain one. But here you'd go white because white has the best sideboard cards.
Yes. Black does get Thoughtseize, so let's not poo-poo black, but the white sideboard cards are so good. Path to Exile being the premier one. Post-board games, you don't get to just overrun people as often. They bring in their removal, so you actually do need to clear away some threats a lot of the time. My paths have been great. I've pathed a lot of spell quellers, path against Affinity to deal with Inkmoth Nexus because that's the main way they've pressured me. I've played that matchup a bunch. So path has really been the all-star on my sideboard so far today. A lot of good
Silence, another one.
Yeah, I've drawn that one. Only need 1 against Affinity. Why would you don't want to draw 2? You just put 1 in your deck and you draw it, and it's great.
And you have your 3rd Sword of Stony Silence in Kataki.
I have naturally drawn that card twice today. So we're doing a good job at drawing the sideboard cards.
Other targets here, we have Selfless Spirit, Burrington Forge Tender, Avon Sensor,
Anti-Scape Shift, Anti-Storm. Pretty obvious bullets here. You do run into some awkward situations. In matchups where you side in a lot of cards, you tend to trim on cord, which makes your bullets worse. So that's why I've tried not to go too hard on bullets, although I still have a lot, and I have the 1 Rest in Peace and 1 Stony Silence. Often you don't even see those in Elves boards. But because you frequently want to trim a cord, I didn't want to just only rely on 1 Elves because you don't have as many copies. But still, 3 copies of a card is better than 1.
Yeah, very much so.
And Collected Company digs towards them pretty effectively as well.
Then your green cards, you got Scavenge Ooze, another bullet, Rex Sage, another bullet. You've got Fracturing Gust to just blow out the Affinities and the Boggles and all those things.
Yeah. Frequently you see 2 in lists. I have the 1 Stony Silence essentially over the other one. Stony Silence I really liked against the idea of it against Eldrazi Tron because it shuts off Walking Ballista, which is one of their best cards in the matchup, so I wanted the Stony Silence in that matchup.
Lastly, we have to talk about a card that's been gaining a ton of popularity. I saw this a lot last week in Syracuse, Double Chameleon Colossus. I think the main thing here is pro-black for the Death Shadow matchup, a card they just can almost not deal with at all.
Not only is it pro-black, it's unlike Mirran Crusader, it's big enough to survive Lightning Bolt, so they almost have no answers. Unless they have Bolt, Snap Bolt, or 2 bolts, if they even have 2 in their 75. They need to Liliana it, but I don't know if you've tried to cast Liliana of the Veil against Elves, but it doesn't work very well.
A lot of 1-mana creatures you can flood the board
You usually have a creature on the battlefield you can sacrifice. Get that one away. Keep the Colossus.
So you know the deck in Legacy, you're getting through it here in Modern, you're X1, so you're doing pretty well with it.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the deck, and what do you think your chances are here in Richmond?
I feel really good. I've had a lot of turn 3 wins, a lot of A lot of resilient wins too, where my opponent dealt with my first wave or something, or wave or two, and then I just keep coming at them. Every collected company can really just end the game on the spot. If you hit the pair of Archdruid Azuri and untap, they're almost dead every time you do that, as long as you have any reasonable board. So you have so many threatening cards, more than you would expect in a deck like this, and not a ton of air. It's really just the cheap creatures. Unless you draw all cheap creatures, then you're gonna hit something good. You've got the 8 really powerful 3-drops. You have the 8 ways to tutor for things. You have the 1 Eternal Witness. So that's 17 big cards, and then outside of that, you have the combo. So I think the combo increases the deck's threat density to just high enough to be really, really good. And if you just flood the board with cheap creatures, you got the one Westvale Abbey. You can Westvale Abbey someone. I was gonna Westvale Abbey a Scapeshift player, but then I just drew Court of Calling and comboed him. I was kind of sad. He was definitely gonna die to it because he was gonna tap out for a Summoner's Pact that he had to pay for, so he wasn't gonna be able to interact. And I was gonna make a 9/7. And how does Scapeshift beat a 9/7? They don't.
No idea.
They don't do that, Nick. They die.
So you're feeling pretty good. A lot of wins on your horizon, would you say?
No, they're not on my horizon. They're now in the back. They're now in the rear view, Nick. I already have them. Hopefully, there are wins on the horizon.
All right. Well, Ross, thanks for joining me here in the sideboard. We wish you the best of luck the rest of the way here.
Thanks for having me.
Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all weekend long for the action here in Richmond.